What is up YouTube? It's your boy Alex here from Team Generations, back again with another deck profile. Today we're going to be looking at a list for 6 Flowers of Phantasms, Shirayuki. So this is the new Murakumo support out of Clan Selection Volume 1. Very nice because this now makes sure you get her own archetype. You can play her as like pretty much a complete deck without just, slotting in the original Shirayuki into different stuff. So I really like that. I think this is a nice change of pace for the clan, playing definitely like a bulkier playstyle that we haven't seen before, and more defensive options and more interaction on your opponent's turn beyond what we've gotten in the past. So very cool. I am running some spicy cards in here. I'm going to explain obviously why during the profile, so let's jump into that now. I'm super excited to bring this to you guys. Alright, before we jump in, I just wanted to say thank you to everybody who has subscribed so far. We're at like over 300 subs. Cannot believe it. Thank you guys so much. If you do learn anything during this profile, maybe consider hitting that button down below to subscribe, possibly leave a like on the video, but let's jump right into it. So starting off, we're starting with the boss unit herself. This is going to be 6 Flowers of Phantasms, Shirayuki. Her skill continues on in deck or drop zone. This card is also regarded as Fantasy Petal Storm Shirayuki. Her second skill, auto on Guardian Circle. When placed, we get to Soul Blast 2. Choose one of your opponent's front row units, and it gets minus 30k until the end of battle. Its third skill is auto Van or Rearguard Circle. Once per turn, when your unit's attack does not hit, if you have a Vanguard with Shirayuki in its card name, Counterblast 1, choose one of your opponent's front row units, and it gets minus 10,000 until the end of turn. If this unit is on your Vanguard circle, you may call a card with Shirayuki in its card name from your drop zone to an open Rearguard circle. So a whole lot going on here. Firstly, it is kind of reminiscent of the original Shirayuki in that we have to Soul Blast 2 to minus our opponent, but now we're talking about 30k power. So this is only on Guardian Circle, so it's really not bad to have these in your hand. You can be holding a bit more of like a, I don't know what to call it, a bulkier or like a greedier hand in a way, with a lot of grade 3s in there, and still have a lot of defensive value. This is really good against things like Hamiel, who have a Sentinel Restrict, and they jack themselves up to like 70k. This is really effective because you drop this plus a trigger, you're probably going to block it out. It's really nice for that. Also, the fact that it is considered Shirayuki, the regular Shirayuki, in the drop zone makes it a lot more searchable off some older cards too, which I really like. Plus from the deck as well. This is nice also because we're basically going to be enabling ourselves a multi-attack with that third skill. So if it's on the Vanguard circle, you don't hit, you counterblast 1, you negate a trigger or just make your opponent minus even more on their Vanguard, like kind of like an anti-trigger, I guess. And then you get to call out a Shirayuki from your drop zone, which is not hard to get at all. I'll show you a couple different ways. And then call that to Rearguard Circle, an open Rearguard Circle. And my biggest problem when I initially started testing this is that I had no open Rearguard Circles. But I did find a card that essentially gets rid of himself. I'll get into that in just a minute. And then I find that the deck kind of multi-attacks and flows a lot better. Like the theme of this deck is getting the maximum value out of your Soul Blast, out of your Shirayuki, because you're Soul Blasting, you're eliminating your Vanguard's your opponent's Vanguard for 10,000, 5,000 with the original Shirayuki, whatever the case may be. You want to basically start swinging at them as much as you can and just maximize that. So that's kind of how I built the deck. That's my mindset kind of going forward, and that is why I'm running obviously the boss unit at a 4 of. And then moving into our next unit, no surprise here, we are going to be running 4 of the original Shirayuki. Now, don't ask me why they didn't reprint this in Clan Selection. It's probably like the most necessary card. These things are now pretty juiced in price, but I'm sure they'll go down eventually. This is Fantasy Petal Storm Shirayuki, obviously. Her skill, auto on Van, Rear, or Guardian Circle when placed. We Soul Blast 2, choose 3 units in your opponent's front row, and they get minus 5k until the end of turn. If this unit is on Van or Guardian Circle, they get minus 10k instead of 5. Its second skill, auto on Vanguard Circle. When its attack does not hit, return a Fantasy Petal Storm Shirayuki from your drop zone to your hand. So doing a whole lot for us in the deck. This is essentially always going to be on Rearguard Circle now. We don't want to ride this on Vanguard because we do have the new Vanguard target, which is nice. The 10k doesn't do as much as it used to, so we don't want to hold these too much in our hand. Like if we have too many in our hand, it's not a bad thing necessarily, but the Soul Blast 2 consistently, starts to eat away at that, and we do have a lot of Soul Charge in this deck, but not always enough to be dropping 2-3 of these per turn. So keep in mind that we do kind of want to be using these offensively, just getting the maximum amount of attacks and maximum amount of value off of negating our opponent's, or just minusing our opponent's Vanguard power. Second skill, if you are on a Vanguard Circle, if you do want to hold out a little bit longer, you can pressure for that hit, and then boom, add back to hand. But we are mainly using it for that Rearguard Circle attack. These are good in the drop zone. You can pop them out off of Shirayuki's skill, the new Shirayuki, and you can minus your opponent's Vanguard even further during the battle phase. So like I mentioned before too, I was having a problem with just creating that open Rearguard Circle. Like I wanted to fill my board, and then on top of that, just swing and have something kind of get rid of itself. And I did find that in this deck, in order to get the, in this card, in order to get the Vanguard Shirayuki skill off, I'll show you in just a minute. But this is the Covert Demonic Dragon Vehemel Fudo. Very weird card. I know I haven't really seen this in a lot of profiles. I'm not sure if people are running into the same issues as me, but this is how I'm building the deck. Again, just a suggestion. You can take this out if you want, but I think it actually works pretty well. It's skill auto on rearguard circle. When it attacks, we get to counterblast 1, and this unit gets an additional 10k until the end of that battle. And at the end of that battle, draw a card and retire this unit. So the original, the boss unit, Shirayuki, she needs to have an open rearguard circle in order to call a Shirayuki from drop. This guy obviously vacates his own circle, gives himself that nice power buff, and if you're on an Excel 2 marker, like, you're going to be swinging for a 27k attack off the bat, make them drop a healthy amount from their hand or take a hit, no big deal either way. Eventually that circle probably at some point will be taken up by a Shirayuki, who is going to be coming off her skill. So this doesn't minus us, it just is a counterblast, which this deck isn't like too reliant on at all. It's just a nice card. I think that it does work in the deck, kind of reminiscent of the Yasuie Tenma, in my opinion. I think it does work in the deck. Again, very spicy, I know. Let me know your opinion down below. Do you think that works? I've been testing it, and I think it does, so yeah. Moving into our grade 2s, and the grade 2s are actually pretty lean compared to a lot of other people's lists. I just found that we have other cards that are a little bit more impactful in this deck. So I'm running 4 of this new card. This is Ice Fang Princess. Man, I'm going to butcher this. Surarahime, or something like that. Auto on Vanguard Circle. When placed, you may call a card with Shirayuki in its card name from your hand to Rearguard Circle. If you called a card at the end of turn, return the Rearguard called with this effect to your hand. And if your soul has 1 or less cards, soul charge 1. Its second skill, auto on rearguard circle. At the end of your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Shirayuki in its card name, put this unit into your soul and return a normal unit from your rearguard circle to your hand. So really this is our ride target, but is also an excellent rearguard as well, really. There is a nice little combo you can do with this too to essentially not really minus as hard in order to get a Shirayuki in drop. I'll show you that in just a second, but what you can do with this on Vanguard Circle on your grade 2 turn, you're essentially calling down the backup Shirayuki, popping her down. You can Soul Blast 2 out, minus their opponent's Vanguard, and then have a pretty aggressive grade 2 turn while getting this right back to our hand, and then we'll be out of soul. But this enables you to soul charge 1, plus it's going to be her there, obviously, in the stack. So when you ride your grade 3 Vanguard next turn, you still will have 2 souls. So you're able to basically use the Shirayuki again for next turn, use the Vanguard Shirayuki on a defensive play, whatever the case really is. But it does stack that soul back up. And on Rearguard Circle, it's actually really nice because let's say I want to have a Shirayuki in my drop zone, and I just don't at the moment. What you can actually do is play the Shirayuki, pop it down, you actually retire it then, and then hopefully you have one of these in your hand. This will attack, it'll then vacate itself, create that open circle, and then when your Vanguard attacks, let's say it doesn't hit, something doesn't hit, you're basically going to call that Shirayuki back out to that rearguard circle. On top of that, at the end of turn, you get to put this unit into your soul, and you get to pop this back to hand. So really, it's just as if you just played this card. I know there is like a little bit that needs to happen for that to happen, but it's really not all that crazy. I've definitely had that combo go off before, and I think it's just there's so many different ways you can play this deck, so many different options and avenues. That's just one of the ways I wanted to show you, but I think it's a very, very good card. You need to be running this at 4. I'm sorry, this profile is probably going to be a little bit lengthier than some of my others. This is definitely not a helmet deck, so to speak. All right, and next up, this is Stealth Fiend Jokatsu Girl. So this is an oldie but goldie, nice little triple rare reprint in this set. Its auto skill on Rearguard Circle. When its attack does not hit, look at 7 cards from the top of your deck, reveal up to 2 Fantasy Petal Storm Shirayuki from among them, put 1 into your hand and 1 into the drop zone. Then we can shuffle our deck, and if you did not reveal any cards, we get to soul charge 1. So again, doing a lot for us on Rearguard Circle. Basically, early game, if you want to just search your deck out, thin it out a little bit, get those Shirayukis in your hand and in your drop, almost more importantly, just so you can threaten that multi-attack next turn. Save this sometimes for the end of turn. You can open with this just to guarantee a hit if you're looking for that search. Whatever the case really is, I feel like this is a very flexible card. It's probably too intricate to go into all the hypotheticals right now, but I suggest just playing with the deck, getting as comfortable as possible. Make those mistakes in practice so that if you bring this to a tournament, locals, whatever it is, you're just a little bit more acclimated with it and are able to know the timing of skills and just get that off a little bit more effectively. I guess that goes for any deck, but this deck probably, a little bit step more. It's not, a simple 1, 2, 3 slap down, go. All right, moving into our grade 1s, that's actually it for our grade 2s. I know a lot of other people do run a lot of other grade 2s. I just find that I think my idea of this deck is going into multi-attacks and ensuring that, and there's a lot of grade 1s or in that grade 3 that kind of help me do that. And again, make most value out of minusing my opponent's Vanguard powers. So moving into our grade 1s then, I'm running 4 of this new card. This is Apprentice Apparition. Man, I'm going to butcher this one too. Meyuki? I think that's it. I really like the art on this one, actually. It's skill auto on Vanguard Circle. When placed, look at 7 cards from the top of your deck. Reveal up to 1 card of the Shirayuki in its card name from among them. Put it into your hand and then shuffle your deck. Its second skill on Rearguard Circle. Once per turn, when your Vanguard with Shirayuki in its card name is placed, you may soul charge 1. So doing everything we really want. Soul charging on Rearguard Circle, very nice. And also top 7 search, no discard, looking for those Shirayukis, just ensuring our rod chain is good. We can ensure the bulkiness of our hand with the defensive Shirayuki as well. So really necessary. Definitely running at a 4 of very good card all around. Doesn't really help the multi-attack thing, but you know, we have to have consistency as well. Speaking of consistency, I think after the profile, I'm going to address the whole Yasuie build as well. I did try that out, and I'll give my thoughts too. Moving right along then, I guess I'll start with this guy actually, or move on to this one. So I'm still running 2 Rainy Madams in my deck. This is Stealth Fiend Rainy Madam. Auto on Rearguard Circle. When your unit's attack does not hit, put this unit into your solo. Return your Fantasy Petal Storm Shirayuki from your drop zone to your hand. So sometimes you do want those defensively. Like if you have that grade 3 Vanguard in there, you know, you've already multi-attacked and called one out for the turn. This guy helps you get those back and just recur your resources, maybe ensure your ride chain for next turn, whatever the case may be. I think it still fits in here. At 2 of is probably nice. You don't always want to see it. It's definitely not like a 4 of necessary as it might have been once upon a time, but I like this card. I am running it at 2 of, and it did get that nice little triple rare reprint. I like the way it, I like the printing they did this time around. I think I've said that before in a couple other videos, but definitely is true. All right, moving right along. This is actually, from here on out, it does get a little spicy in the grade 1 lineup. I'll explain why. I'm going to be still running 4 Stealth Beast Million Rat. Its skill, act on Rearguard Circle. If you do not have another Stealth Beast Million Rat on your Rearguard Circle, counterblast 1, search your deck for up to 1 Stealth Beast Million Rat, call it to Rearguard Circle, shuffle your deck, and that unit gets minus 4k until the end of turn. So what we really want to be doing here is kind of rushing down on turn 2. So let me just go back 1 second. So let's say we're on her. All right, on our Vanguard grade 2. And then we pop down an original Shirayuki. So I'm popping down that Shirayuki. I'm minusing my opponent's Vanguard power. I'm basically just trying to get off the most aggressive grade 2 turn without costing too much in general. Like, I'm going to be spawning out 1, 2 other units for just a counterblast, essentially, which is really not too bad. Again, this does cost for her subtraction skill, but that's not really, you know, a body on board. And you're thinning out your deck with Million Rat too, just leaving triggers in there, maybe more valuable cards. I think it really does apply like a nice amount of pressure on that grade 2 turn, so I am running it in this deck. I do like it. I think that, you know, the grade 1 body is nice too, just to be a little bit more bulky in hand as well. So some people have cut it, like I said, but my grade 1 lineup is a little bit different. This whole deck, I guess, is a little different. I guess my mindset is somewhere else. There we go. All right, moving on to our next grade 1. I've actually seen this in a few deck profiles, I think. This is Flute Blowing Stealth Rogue Kadogo. I think that's how to say it. Auto on Rearguard Circle. At the end of battle that a boosted a grade 2 or greater Rearguard, we get to counterblast 1, discard a card from our hand, search your deck for up to 1 card with the same card name as the unit that this unit boosted, call it to an open Rearguard Circle, and shuffle your deck. So let's say you just, you know, cannot get the multi-attack off with your Vanguard, and you still have that open Rearguard Circle from the support grade 3 with this guy. You are basically going to force out a multi-attack with this card. This is better for a little bit later in the game sometimes. It also gets the Shirayukis out of your deck, so whether they're in the drop zone, on the field, in your hand, whatever it is, that's better than obviously being in there. I find that, you know, we don't always multi-attack, like they're not always going to let us hit, and sometimes on like your first grade 3 ride there just isn't like a ton of attacks, so this is pretty much like a guaranteed multi-attack, so I kind of like that. The discard from hand is heavy, don't get me wrong, but the grade 3 kind of offsets that a little bit, so you're not negging as hard. So yeah. All right, moving on to our very last card. This is kind of a tech too. You can toss this out, you can swap it, whatever you want. Again, I'm just going to reiterate, my mindset is getting the maximum amount of attacks, making the most value out of the soul that I am blasting to subtract my opponent's powers. So I'm running one of these guys. This is Bangasa Stealth Rogue Sukirak. It's skill auto on Rearguard Circle. At the end of battle that your other unit attacked, if that unit is on an additional Rearguard Circle, counterblast 1 and exchange this unit's position with that unit. So On that additional rearguard circle, once you exchange it, this guy is then going to be 13k, or yeah, right? Yeah, 13k, sorry. I was thinking also with the Excel one, I was like, wait a minute, you can be more, but you're really using Excel 2 in here. I just think that, again, I'm looking to get the maximum amount of attacks. Like, the deck doesn't naturally multi-attack, and that's kind of what we're looking to do once we vacate that spot. This does pair well with that other grade 3 that gets rid of himself, because you're going to be swapping it. You still have that open rearguard circle, so you can put this in the front row and then swap the units. So no big deal, you can put this in the back row. It just does that swap, it does that multi-attack, so one extra attack is always good. All right, so moving right along then into our trigger lineup. Let's go over here. We are actually running the Crit Sentinels in here. I tried out the regular draws, and while they do help me with my hand size, I think I've kind of said it before, in this deck, I mean, we're like naturally pretty bulky because of the new Shirayuki. There are a lot of attacks that we can kind of block, so I think that running most crits in here are good. You definitely can put the draw triggers in here. I'm not saying that's incorrect. I just don't really mind, I guess, sacrificing it for maybe just a little bit more power this time around, and I'm actually still running 2 fronts. I know, kind of crazy. Just hear me out on it. Obviously for heal and the starter as well. So with the front, sometimes, like, I know you have like an inherent front kind of built into Shirayuki, but this just kind of floods the map. Like, once you hit that front, you have a nice little field setup. I think that it is pretty beneficial to kind of have it just make sure your opponent is bleeding their hand to kind of guard you out, and if they do guard you out, like, you can get that multi-attack off your Vanguard Shirayuki, so not terrible altogether. Putting that like just that pressure on with the crits, having that little bit of front in there kind of helps, keeps them on their toes sometimes. So obviously heals, because they are heals. So just stick around, we are going to go into a little discussion, I think, first on just the Yasuie build, and then I'll get into a test hand. Maybe I'll just do a little bit of combos too. I'll just play it by ear. We'll see what I'm ready to do. All right, so the Yasuie and Shirayuki kind of combo deck. Basically, like, if you want to slot this in, like, you can, but I feel like it's more like a Yasuie deck, just slotted in with Shirayuki. Find that I still want to run most of the grade 2s that Yasuie does want to. I know we also got the new grade 2 promo that was previously only in Japan, released in the set, so that's going into the Yasuie deck, but I find that, you know, obviously I want to bring you guys like a deck centered around Shirayuki, just something new in general. I already have my Yasuie profile. If you guys do want to check that out, definitely go ahead and do that. You can just slot her in, like, if you watch that profile, slot her in at 3 of, that's pretty much it. But I feel like it does get a little cloggy with the grade 3s, but at the same time too, we thought that about, what was it? I think it was like Gold Paladin. Everyone was saying, oh my god, you know, so many grade 3s. We see that in Astral Poets too. There's some decks that just, it works, and having a grade 3 Shirayuki is not like having other grade 3s, because it is a defensive option, so you can hold these in your hand and it'll still be a lot better than having, you know, a lot of other things as well. So I just think that I'm ripping through the soul a little bit fast in Yasuie to support this without the same cards. Like, you're gonna run the Jakatsu girl maybe in the Yasuie deck, but I'll probably bump that down for like the new guy, that new grade 2 promo. In general, I don't think clunky is the right word for it. I just think that you can be a little bit more focused on Yasuie's strategy. Maybe just tech this in as kind of a defensive option. And like I said, I wanted to bring you guys something a little bit newer, just like a deck centered around Shirayuki, so you can get out there and play with these new cards and maybe try this idea out, you know, make your own twists and variations on it. So that was kind of where my head was at. I'm not trying to, you know, downplay the fact that Shirayuki in Yasuie is good. I'm not trying to say that anybody who plays that is incorrect or wrong or anything, but I think that I just wanted to take this deck a different option. And right now, at least in New York, like I keep saying, there's no competitions going on, things like that. So I'm not looking for, you know, oh my god, I need to have the end-all be-all deck, you know, this is what tops in Japan or whatever. This is just my iteration of the deck. I don't think it's a bad deck at all. I like playing with this. Gets over a lot of different things. Is defensive, is aggressive at the same time. So yeah. Let's move into a test, and I'll show you kind of just how I would kind of play the deck, my vision of how it plays out. All right, let's shuffle this up over here. I want to get this nice and mixed up. Now, obviously, if you just watched my little Yasuie rant, you would know that I do have access to those cards. It's not that I don't have access to Yasuie or anything like that, which is why I'm like reluctant to run it, but if there ever is a time where like I just don't have access to a card, I will definitely say to you guys, I won't just be like, oh, this is the optimal way just because I don't have this card. So just know that definitely is a solid deck, but just not really my play style. I'd rather go for this like multi-attack kind of thing. All right, we actually pretty decent hand. Let's see if we can put back 1. Yeah, I'm gonna keep that actually. I'm gonna put back 1 just to see if I can get that grade 1 searcher. No, I can't get 2 of those. Not too bad though. Let's see what we can dig up. shuffle this back up. Get a pile or two. There we go. All right, let's move into our turn. We're gonna pretend we go first just to make things easy, as we do all the time in our little test hand videos. We're going to ride that million rat and draw. Nice, we do get that Shirayuki, which is very good. And like I said, this seems like a grade 3 heavy hand, but at the same time too, we have defensive options, and it's not bad to have Shirayuki in the drop either. So we're actually gonna be able to pull off a pretty aggressive grade 2 turn here. I'll show you in just a second, but pass it over to our opponent, take a damage for their turn, very nice. I'm going to stand and draw for our turn. Cool, we actually got 2 of those, nice. We are then going to ride her, and we're going to use her skill 1 placed. We're actually going to call down the regular Shirayuki. We're going to then Soul Blast 2. I can do that off of her skill, obviously. I'm then going to minus my opponent's Vanguard for 5k, and then at the end of turn, I bounce it back to hand and such. And like I said too, like Million Rat comes in handy here because you can pull off really aggressive turn 2 if you are going first. So I'm going to, can you guys see this in front? Yeah, it's just my drop zone. You don't really need to see it too much. Let's get a Million Rat out of the deck. Deck thinning is deck winning, as we say. Is that a Million Rat? Yes, it is. I'm just going to put that upside down to signify that that went with the -4 there. If you have a, what is it? The Jikatsu girl at grade 2, and you pop down Million Rat, you can like pretend this is Jikatsu girl. You can call this down here, boost her, whatever you want to do, just to make it as aggressive as possible if you want to dump that much from your hand. If not, this is definitely a fine kind of thing. So we're going to swing here. There's going to be 12, there's going to be 9. Let's see, boom, nothing. All right, we're going to then swing Shirayuki, and then we're going to use her skill, pop this back to hand, and we are then going to soul charge 1. Nice, so we are now over to our opponent. Let's pretend we take 2 damage for their turn, 1 power. All right, let's heal that out. Oopsie daisy. We are then going to 2. All right, power again. Wow, hitting all these defensive triggers here. If only I was that lucky in real life. All right, stand and draw. All right, we got a pretty good setup here. Pretty good setup. Let's see, let's put, what do I want to do here? What do I want to do? Let us see, because we're going to get this back pretty much one way or another. So I'm going to call her down. I'm going to get one of these. Yeah, I'm going to get one of these in my drop, I think. So I'm then going to call over her. I'm going to put this there. I know, a little odd. Oh, I'm sorry. I meant to ride first. Jesus. All right, so now we're going to get that Excel 2. We're going to draw that, change anything? Not really, no. Okay, good. So we're going to call here. And we're just going to call her down by herself right there. We're going to hold this in our hand for now. Nothing too crazy elsewise, right? Nope. Anything else I want to do? No. Okay, cool. So we're going to open up, actually, Counterblast 1. We are then going to swing with him. That's 27. We're going to retire him then. Then going to draw a card. Nice, we got that, which is cool for a multi-attack. We are then going to assume they hit like a defensive trigger or whatever the case may be. I'm actually going to swing here. I don't hit with this. Now I'm going to search the top 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put 1 into drop. Dang, I added 1 to drop anyway. No big deal. 1 into drop, 1 into my hands. It's no big deal because I can do Rainy Madam now. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to hold. I'm going to hold on her skill. You can hold on her skill because there is a cost associated with it. Going to gonna swing, let's say, yeah, let's swing with our Vanguard and say our Vanguard doesn't hit, I guess. I'm gonna do 1 front, nice, 2 crit. Also, it is when it attacks, does not hit. Yeah, no, never mind. We are going to put everything right there, and I'm also going to use its skill. It didn't hit there, so I'm going to Counterblast 1, call a Shirayuki, give a -10 to my opponent. I'm also going to use Shirayuki's skill, so I'm going to go 1, 2 right there. And they're on their grade 2 turn, remember, so we just did -10, -5, this is -15. Plus I just gave, you know, front and a crit to him, so this is 8, 8, 16. This is going to be 36 2 crit, and then I have another Shirayuki attack coming, also to a super neg Vanguard, so boom, boom, whatever the attack order was. But that is the main idea of the deck, really. Just getting Shirayukis in the drop, pressure for that non-hit. You really want to have her out. Maybe I could have even done it. Yeah, I could have actually done this a little bit earlier with her, assuming she did not hit, just to have that Shirayuki out there. That probably would have been the ideal play. I'm sorry. But yeah, that is generally the idea of the deck. Like I said, just overwhelm your opponent, get those multi-attacks off, neg your opponent as much as possible. So thank you guys so much for watching. And again, if you did learn anything, let me know. If you do disagree with this list, totally let me know too. Obviously, hopefully respectfully. But I'm always all ears to any criticism. I'm not, a pro player or anything like that. I'm just here trying to give you my interpretation of some decks, have some fun with it, and our teams as well. So yeah, thank you guys so much. I am Alex from Team Generations, signing out.